For me, the attraction in using analog equipment, analog synthesizers and drum machines is there's a certain tactile sense with it as opposed to manipulating things with a mouse on a computer. You're turning knobs, you're moving sliders, and if you want to change a sound, you just grab the thing and just do it, just change it. And there's also a certain sense of randomness that can happen when things don't behave the way that you might expect them to, or you might accidentally tweak a filter the wrong way or flip a switch or something the wrong way, and something different will come out and you go, hey, that sounds all right, and then it will lead you down a completely different path. But I think a trap of all the modern technology we have at our disposal for making music in, say, a software environment is you can get bogged down in all of the detail and the nitty-gritty and resolutions of timing, and I need to automate this filter sweep over here, and that sort of business. With analog equipment, that's all out the window. You're not looking at things on a screen. You're listening with your ears and making the music with the sounds that are coming out of that box. So to me, it's more of a tactile and a response feedback sort of thing with the analog gear.
I think there's a movement back to analog gear for the richness of sound. I think it's also a bit of a fashionable thing. To say that you've got a Roland 303 for doing your bass lines is a very fashionable thing to say, but when the reality is, it's a very primitive piece of gear that's prone to, very flaky behaviour. So, realistically, you're better off using something that's more, I guess, stable. But then there's a novelty in using unstable equipment. I mean, the old analog gear, in many cases, it's very hard to reproduce the same sound twice because what you are, manipulating an electronic waveform. So unless you've got the knobs exactly right, you're not going to be able to reproduce that sound.
I mean, for me personally, I love the idea of working with audio digitally, but then I love getting a microphone out and recording either to tape, or recently I've been doing a lot of recordings onto literally a sort of Walkman cassette, making field recordings, just because there's a certain kind of aesthetic quality that you get with that kind of technology that you'll never get with the sort of fidelity of a really 24-bit digital recorder. And also, I think it's the process of how the audio is transformed. There's a certain kind of quality that you get from analog technology, which is partly to do with the reduction of the digital sheen that I think is really exciting. And it's a kind of nostalgic thing in a way as well, I think. When you listen to electronic music from certain periods, it's so electronic that, and that's partly its appeal. It's just so clean-cut, neat, trimmed, perfect. And I guess that can be really appealing in certain kinds of electronic music, but there are other kinds that need that softness. When you listen to something like the early Brian Eno ambient records, there's a softness and a warmth there that I think if those albums were created digitally may not be as evident. And I think, it's about finding the tools that are going to best articulate the aesthetic values that you hear in the sound that you're creating.
Analog equipment is back in vogue mainly because of the tonality that we can derive from it. There are a lot of software-based synthesizers certainly out there that do such an amazing job, a very good one too, at emulating some of the old classics. But there's something more to the analog machines in terms of voltage being a little bit unsteady or unstable and creating more movement in the sound, and certainly a lot more depth to the sound. So although computer simulations can get tonality correct, and they can get most of the subtleties correct, there's still this lack of depth of sound, which is just sorely missing in a lot of the software-based products. So a lot of newer artists have actually, once they've heard the tonality out of these newer machines, which are resurrected and what is old is new again, thoroughly embrace it and now understand what it is that what was so beautiful about their particular tone, I guess.